Aquarius. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for December of 2021. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Aquarius, if this is your sun sign, not your rising sign, but your sun sign, then your annual mop-up period is about to begin. That's the 30 days before your birthday, and it's an excellent time to begin clearing away the things of your previous year and preparing for the things of your new year. And you can find out what those things are in a solar return reading, which you could get with either Julia or me at the link in the YouTube description below. Well, let's take a look at your horoscope for this month because Saturn and Uranus have been very busy playing ping pong with all of us. Saturn is traveling along through Aquarius, which is, of course, your sign. So you've probably been feeling this pretty personally as Saturn occupies your first house of self and identity. And you may feel under pressure more than ever to just behave your best, to just take action in the best ways possible and really show that you deserve your good reputation. Meanwhile, Uranus has been traveling along through your fourth house over a 7-year period and has really been stirring things up in your family and at home, possibly disrupting your home life, possibly causing some anxiety and just like nervous energy and nervous tension in your home or among family members. And so these two have been engaged in a square, in and out of a square all year. We've got a video that tells you a lot more about this in our December 2021 news playlist, where we reprise some of the things that we said about it at the beginning of the year before it had started. If you have anything in your chart at all, particularly including your sun, between 7 and 13 degrees, which would mean that your birthday would be probably between about the 17th and the 23rd of the month, then whoa, have you been feeling this? And you could probably really stand to know more about it. Hey, Julia, you want to talk about Mercury, Mars, and Venus?
I sure do. Hey there, Aquarius. We'll start with Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication and mentation. Wherever we have it this month is where we're going to expend a lot of our mental energy. So Mercury starts the month in your 11th house, which is a very social house of groups, which really means that you'll probably be communicating a lot with your friends the first 13 days of the month. But on the 13th, Mercury enters your 12th house in the sign of Capricorn. So for the rest of the month, you might be more inclined to keep your thoughts to yourself. The 12th house is a very isolated place. So, and it's kind of hidden too. So you might be a little bit more reticent with your communications. The 12th house is also the house of the subconscious. It can be kind of a trippy place. So you could get your best thinking and a lot of your mental energy could be going towards consciousness exploration, maybe more vivid dreams, meditation, or, anything else. Then Mars, the planet of action and activity, starts the month in your 10th house. The 10th house is a career house and it also represents authority figures. So your authority figures are pretty much anyone who tells you what to do, whether that's still your parents or a teacher or a boss. So with Mars in the 10th, you could be expending a lot of energy at your career, which can be a really good thing. It can be great for getting a lot of work done. However, there is a risk of running into flare-ups and frustrations with the people you work with and especially authority figures. So be careful. Then on December 13th, Mars goes into your 11th house. This is the house of friends. It's also the house of long-term goals and groups. So with Mars in this house, you could be really, really driven towards kind of accomplishing your long-term goals in life, maybe defining them and sort of working towards them. However, wherever we have Mars is where we can run into some flare-ups and frustrations. So this can also be a time of running into some conflicts with friends or maybe even competitiveness too. Mars can be a very competitive planet. And these conflicts can also extend into the groups that you're a part of, such as unions, recovery programs, clubs, and societies too. And then the final planet I want to talk about, I always save the best for last, it's Venus, everyone's favorite planet because she represents relationships, art, and beauty too. So Venus is going to be in your 12th house all month. And on the 19th, she's going to go retrograde, which is going to be real exciting. And this retrograde cycle, it's going to be long. It's going to go into late January. It's a 6-week cycle. So I'll let you know what to be aware of. So when Venus goes into the 12th, remember the 12th is a very isolated place. So this is kind of a time of withdrawing more socially. And if you have a partner, spending more time one-on-one, sort of away from the outside world, whether that's at home or whether that's on a little camping trip or something, but there's a sense of wanting to be kind of away from the world with your partner. And when Venus goes retrograde times are times of review. And it can be reviewing of any matter that planet represents. So that's Venus in relationships. So when Venus goes retrograde in your 12th, this might be a time of reviewing 12th house matters in your relationship. And with the 12th house, that can either be spirituality as well as service, volunteer or charity work. So when Venus goes retrograde in the 12th, you might be reviewing whether your relationship has a strong spiritual basis or whether it has a strong altruistic basis. Maybe you want a partner who can share your spiritual path, or maybe where you can work in service together. And if you're not in a relationship, then these could be things that you're thinking about in terms of your next one, what might be very important for you. And when Venus goes retrograde, it can be a time where everybody, whether you're single or attached, gets more visits, phone calls, and surprises from exes too. So be aware of that.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of moons to talk about. The first one is the solar eclipse and new moon in Sagittarius. The moon and the sun meet up here in your 11th house. This one we're calling Heal Breaches by How You Act on Your Beliefs. An eclipse is always an occasion for looking at our shadow, whether we wanted to or not. And a solar eclipse is an occasion for our behavior, the actions that we take, triggering a look at our shadow, or perhaps where we show our shadow to other people without even realizing it. This one is landing in your house of groups and communities. And so this could bring occasions where your beliefs have brought you into a community or group that you maybe, show some bad behavior in that context. The showing of the shadow is, it's the stuff that we don't want to look at ourselves, much less have other people see. So this one is really kind of fraught because you might behave badly in a group context and just feel like really embarrassed. So something to watch out for. How do you behave in groups where maybe you're carried along by the beliefs of the group and maybe your beliefs don't even align with that anymore? So there's an interesting thought. Now, the next moon is a full moon. It lands right over here in your 5th house. It's happening on the 18th. And this moon is in Gemini. Now, this is a full moon, not an eclipse. So it's not as emotional. It's not as stirring. It's not as sort of driving. And it's more relational because it involves an opposition, as full moons tend to do. This moon falls in your 5th house, and this is a house of self. It's a house of identity. It's a house of creativity and self-expression, and it's a house that you have filled with the sign Gemini. So this could be a moon in which you're expressing yourself a lot through how you communicate and the words that you say. This moon is a lot smoother and easier than the other moon. We're calling it broadened minds gain bigger hearts. So if there were arguments that you had under the solar eclipse back on the 3rd, where you tried to persuade people of a different point of view, or they tried to persuade you of a different point of view, especially in community contexts, then this could be the moon where the full moon later in the month could be the time when that stuff actually finds a resolution that's so much more smooth and easy, when it's so much more easy to persuade people to open their minds, and then an opening of hearts can accompany that. So then the last thing I want to tell you about is the sun is going to change signs, which means a seasonal change. It moves from Sagittarius into Capricorn. And this is really reflective of a theme of the month, which is that the month really begins with a very big emphasis in your 11th house of communities and groups of it's like a laboratory, this house. It's a house of paradigms of thought and experiment in those. And so there's a lot of emphasis on these things in the beginning of the month. And then as the month goes on, these planets all shift over into the 12th house. And so, whereas in the beginning of the month, you may spend a lot of time engaging with friends, in groups, in communities, feeling very much like a part of something bigger than yourself, it's quite possible that on that eclipse on the 3rd, you could find yourself rather disenchanted with this group that you're a part of. And then when these planets start gathering in the 12th house, pulling yourself away from those groups and into some form of isolation or solitude, as you just sort of mull over what is the deeper meaning behind the things in my life? You know, what's underneath it all? And how does this tie into my spirituality? Well, that's what we have for you today, Aquarius. Hope you enjoyed it. You'll find this horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscopes tab. And if Aquarius is your sun sign, then you should look up your rising sign horoscope too. You will find news about the moons of this month, also Saturn square Uranus, on our monthly forecast page, and also on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology. And if you want a reading or to take a class, we are there for you, and you can find that good stuff on our website too. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.